Today I rode Gordon, who was another horse that I've been assigned as sort of my second project horse. Here you can see he's very weak behind, and although he does work in a frame, as you can see here, he's slightly too deep in the frame, and actually I feel it's just learnt behaviour. He's not actually working up and over his back and using his top line. You can see he has got quite a built up sterniocephalicus and his top line is not very built up at all. He is working nicely here, he's working forward. You can see that canter transition is a little bit rushed and he hollows. But once he's in the canter, much nicer. I think his canter is his strongest pace, but all three paces are quite weak. Here you can see he just drops off my legs slightly. He's much better, much more supple now on this circle. We need a bit more flexion in the pole. He just twists his pole and is quite uptight. He's very, very stiff. The downwards transition was a little bit rushed. It was an improvement from earlier in the session. Here you can just see some screenshots. You can see my shoulders once again are tilted forwards. That's something I need to work on, and I'm looking down still. So really, as it's a learnt behaviour, I need to really focus on preventing that from happening. Here's a canter on the right rein. He is stronger on the right rein than on the left rein. He has a lot more bend, flexion on this rein. He's a bit straighter on this rein. He's very crooked on both reins, but he is a bit straighter on this rein. He has a nice rhythm in the canter when he's in the pace. So that's my first scale of training. That's the one I was working on today, just focusing on the rhythm, keeping him forward, and then working on the relaxation and aiming to have a bit of a long and low session to finish off. That was quite a nice downwards transition. The walk, this transition here was not very good. You can see he hollows and rushes. So I just bring him back up to trot and ask for the transition again. Quite a nice downwards transition for him there. Okay. And then next I rode Milano. Here we're just warming up in the trot. She has remained very consistent in the frame over the last few days, which I'm really pleased with. Here I was just asking for a tiny bit of shoulder in. This was quite early in our session. However, I was asking just because I needed to maintain that control of the shoulder. She felt a little bit on her shoulders today, a little bit on the forehand, so I wanted to lift her up quite quickly and get her off the forehand. Here I'm asking for a downwards. That was a nice transition from trot to walk, a nice forwards transition. We have a nice bend through our turns, just changing the rein here. Recently, because we've been doing lots of medium work across the middle, she likes to rush across the middle. So I've remained really strong in my core over the last few days just to make sure that this isn't happening. And we're maintaining our rhythm and relaxation in the trot. I have ridden with a schooling whip today again. This is something that she doesn't particularly like, but it's something I think we need to use consistently to get her to move forward off the leg and to prevent her from becoming a bit lazy. That was a very nice canter transition. She's not striking off disunited anymore as such, or 90% of the time she is actually striking off correctly. Here my plan for the day was to work obviously all three paces in the warm-up, and then I wanted to do some direct transitions from halt or walk to canter, and then canter to halt or walk depending on which one I thought we would get to in the day. Initially I started riding a 3-loop serpentine with a trot transition across the centre line, which you'll see in a minute. Here I'm just trying a little bit of canter, but she doesn't quite keep the canter down alongside, so that's where it would be more beneficial if she could keep the canter and maintain that on the wrong leg. Because I've been helping teach her with her changes and balance herself, I think I've shot myself in the foot a little bit here, and I think I need to really sit on that on the alternate shoulder and keep her on the incorrect leg at least on the straight line, and then maybe bring her back to trot before the corner. Here just working on the trot to walk transitions. That was a nice forward canter transition. It wasn't sticky at all. She maintained the relaxation and the suppleness. Asking for a little bit of medium down this long side. You can see she's really pushing from behind, engaging. She's gained a bit more impulsion than she has over the last few weeks. She's really improved in that area. And this allows us to do more difficult dressage movements and moving up from a prelim to a novice more consistently, and even an elementary eventually, possibly. Once again, a nice canter transition. Here I'm thinking about a nice trot transition on a serpentine. This is quite a complicated exercise for Milano when I have just introduced it. Here asking again for the trot transition. This transition there was 100 times better than the first transition. I think she knew what I wanted, and I'd prepared for the transition a bit better by sitting tall, engaging in my core, and not just pulling on the reins. Here we're doing the same again. You can see I'm sitting really tall. She's really balanced, going down from canter to walk there, and she takes me forward from the walk to the canter, which is really nice. That shows she is engaging behind, and we're gaining that impulsion. That was a little bit sticky there, but we did still get the canter to walk. There was just a few extra trot strides. But I'm trying here not to just pull on the reins. I'm trying to use my seat, which is something, especially in a show jumping competition, is vital. And in a dressage competition, it's vital for being able to alter the pace without having to just use my leg quite harshly or pulling on the reins too much. Here we're riding those transitions again. Quite a nice downward there, and actually asked her to walk this time. She is taking slightly longer than usual to go from canter to walk, or than what I would like, but this is something we're working towards. There you can see she didn't quite take me forwards into canter. She just rushed into the trot a little bit of miscommunication, so we've just asked again. And much nicer there. She doesn't rush off in the canter, she keeps that really nice rhythm. I think we've gained a little bit more lift in the canter than we had previously, a little bit more cadence. That was a nice walk transition there. We didn't lose too much straightness. Once again, nice walk transition. And we did strike off on the wrong leg there, so we've just walked again. Asked for the transition again. I was really surprised that she was able to do the canter to walks and walk to canters as well as she could. I thought this was going to be an issue originally. I thought she wouldn't be able to do the direct transition as strongly, and I thought I was going to have to work really hard to make sure I was clear with my aids. And although I was clear with my aids, actually she was a lot stronger than I thought, which shows that all of the work I have been doing in the previous weeks has really paid off. Here you can see she's anticipating what I'm asking a little bit, so I've just gone into trot. Back across the middle again, still riding the serpentine, but just not asking for the canter right now. A nice walk transition there. And a nice canter transition. You can see she's quite straight there. Her hindquarters are slightly on the inside track, but that's okay. That is how a horse canters. Here I'm asking for a leg change. That was a really nice leg change. She was quite balanced. She maintained the straightness. Asking again, another quite good transition, quite good canter lead change there. And we just do this a few times. I think I've worked before, just then I'd worked on bringing the canter back to the trot and then the canter back to the walk to get that engagement and that impulsion to help improve our leg changes. And I think it has. Here you can see that was a really, really balanced change. I almost couldn't tell she had changed. Here you can see I'm sitting up tall, asking for that change. She didn't quite change behind there, but she did correct herself when I asked her to. Really nice leg changes here. I think we're improving every single time, and I think I'm doing them quite often just to make sure the more I do them, the more she's going to understand what I'm asking, and the more fluent they're going to become.